Welcome back to Nigeria Decides, and this time around we are talking about all of the big stories making the headlines, and today's focus is going to be on the APC Caucus. Just barely 24 hours ago, the APC had its caucus meeting, and that has generated a whole lot of reactions, isn't it, Ifeoma?
That's right. We know, of course, that majorly it's the president's reaction and the speech that he delivered at the APC Caucus meeting that has got a lot of people talking. Some people think that the president hit hard on some of the points that he made, even though we know, of course, that some of the things that he expressed are shared by a wide range of people in Nigeria, talking about INEC and the fact that a lot of people have hit hard on INEC, saying that INEC shouldn't have postponed the election, that the reasons they gave are not given. And then the president went ahead to say other things. So we're going to analyze some of those issues raised by the president during that meeting with our analysts in the studio. We are joined by Sam Adeleke. He is a public affairs analyst. Thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here always.
We also have Tosin Adeshino. He's also a public affairs analyst. Tosin, welcome to set.
Now, gentlemen, you watched that meeting which was aired yesterday. It was quite a lengthy one, and a whole lot of information came out from that meeting, a whole lot of outcomes. But one of the striking outcomes was the president's stance and the party's stance in general, saying that, well, individuals who are caught in the act of ballot box snatching will be dealt with ruthlessly. So they were making reference to thugs, I believe. But a whole lot of individuals have said, well, the language of the president should be one that should connote a certain level of peace and should always have the scope of the rule of law at the back of his mind. So when you're saying any statement or you're making any statement, it has to be within the rule of law. So dealing ruthlessly and saying the person's life would be attached and a whole lot more, we understand your aim, but the message you're passing also has some undertones. And according to the PDP, it says it's a direct call for jungle justice. What's your stance on that?
In fact, the PDP chairman today said, Buhari, why do you like blood? Why are you calling for the blood of Nigerians? I honestly do think that this is a watershed in the build-up to the elections. No president should give such marching orders, either informally or formally, at a meeting that's supposed to be even a public meeting. Now, for me, before I even talk about what's transpired at that meeting, I want to talk about the build-up to that meeting. Nigerians still do not accept the fact that the federal government and the APC were not aware of the postponement of the elections, because it appears we are all just doing as if we are fools. I don't know what's going on. How can you claim that, oh, we are surprised as well that the INEC postponed the elections without the knowledge of the APC? And of course, they were proactive by now having a caucus meeting on Monday to strategize and plan ahead. Now, for the president to have gone ahead, because apparently the meeting was just all talk about, okay, elections will hold, everybody come out to vote. There was really nothing important about that meeting.
Yes. Everybody
you guess it was more of just a validation of the fact that, okay, yes, something happened on Saturday, we are commiserating here, yeah, this thing happened, that one happened, but nothing, there was nothing so germane about that meeting. Now, going to that sentence, telling Nigerians that if you snatch a ballot box, it will be at the expense of your life. Why will a sitting president in a democratic dispensation issue such a statement that will make lots of people to abuse it? So much more coming a day after the jungle justice killing, so to speak, of an unharmed citizen at the border in Iduroko in Ogun State. You know, it's about symbolism. When a
also
president
had reports of killings in Kaduna, although the number 66 is still under.
It's still being debated, and this is a civil activity. It is not a war situation, and the police actually should be the ones in charge of this. And the police are not meant to kill. If according to Constitution, which the president swore to uphold, and even according to Geneva Convention, which all parties swore to uphold, you should not in any way use harms in an election situation.
Are you surprised by the president's disposition? Because this is a president who has said, well, national security would always supersede the rule of law, and a whole lot of other sort of statements that I said, well, you shouldn't be surprised when the president makes such a speech. But coming at a time where we're counting down to the elections, how do you think this affects or shakes up the polity?
Okay, I think the statement was unnecessary because automatically the president has filtered out the policies since yesterday. The president, apart from being the president, is a contestant in this election. And see, there are some things that Atiku will say that Nigerians should not worry about. There are things that Turo Toye will say that will not blink our eye about. There are some things that Mogalu will say that will not even take serious. But as the president, the fact that you are the president, you are still the chief security officer of this nation, and in fact, you are the chief security officer of that election. If anything goes wrong with that election, and we have mass killings, those are the things that ICC used to consider to try.
But don't you also think that from the president's stance is trying to say that, well, no act of misconduct will be condoned?
No, it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary because whether you say it or not, there are ways you give these orders to the military and security personnel involved. He mentioned something like which we need to be very cognizant of. Military men are not allowed to carry arms during election, including police officers. In fact, if you have a poll, if you are the governor of a state, you are not allowed to vote with the security officer with you. If they come, they can only come like a protocol officers to protect you, give you body protection, but they must not be armed. Not a single bullet must be on them. And you know why? Not because people can't misbehave, but because of the innocent. Now, on election day, people will come to sell ice cream, they'll come to sell zobo, they'll come to sell chin-chin, just to entertain people that want to exercise their franchise. How will you distinguish between these people and a troublemaker in a chaotic scene? I've experienced electoral violence before, where we went to vote and suddenly we started hearing gunshots, pick the ballot box, they run away in the process. And when it comes to shooting, in such situation, you cannot just aim a target. You might want to shoot somebody and the next minute the guy is
okay,
gone.
Before you exhaust yourself.
Yes.
Yes, actually, we have a package on that meeting, the APC Caucus meeting, so we'll take a look at that, the president speaking, and we'll be right back on Nigeria Decides. Don't go away.
It really gave the military and the police to be ruthless. We are not going to be blamed that we want to rig an election. I want Nigerians to be respected. Let them vote whoever they want across the parties. I'm not afraid of that. I have gone through, as you said, the whole 36 states and Abuja. I went round. I think I have got enough supporters across the country to look after me. So I am going to warn anybody who thinks he has enough influence in his locality to lead a body of thugs to snatch boxes or to disturb the voting system. He will do it at the expense of his own life. Thank you very much.
And the high point of that was when the president made that controversial statement. Now, we know that not too long ago, the governor of Kaduna State, El Rufai, made a statement that some may consider similar to this one when he made the body bag statement. Now, just opposing it with what the president said at the meeting that we just saw, what does that say about the stance of the APC government towards protecting the lives of Nigerians at this critical time when we are faced with an election? We want people to come out and to believe in the government to protect them and all of that. What does it say?
It says a lot about the character and the mode of communication, because communication is the lifeblood of any society that wants to thrive on peace. What you say, what you don't say, how you say it are very, very important, especially for those who are leaders. He mentioned something very important. He said if it were other contestants that said it, they would have said, oh, okay. Because even the PDP chairman, to be fair, said that if they rig this election, there will be war. But people didn't take him seriously because, you know, of course, he's trying to get to power. But a sitting governor made such statement. The president said if you snatch a ballot box at the expense of your life. So making such very pungent and very, you know, punchy statements go a long way to really expose the mind of our leaders and how they think, and also the value of human dignity, the value of human life, and the way people place value on the life of the ordinary Nigerian. I do think that more people should call out these leaders, because we need to step down the way words are used. Words should be used very circumspectly. People should be very sober, especially as a leader in a time like this when tensions are at hyper levels. Because if you say as a party you have done well, I've gone around the country, you have garnered enough support, then you should be calm. You should not be agitated. Let your work speak for you. Just tell people, guys, come out and vote. Be relaxed. Come out, enjoy yourself, have fun at the polling units, and let us move our country to the next level. So we should keep on rebuking them on a daily basis that, guys, you have been voted to keep Nigeria together as one. So only use words that will build the nation, not destroy the nation.
Okay, now another thing that the president said was he talked about INEC and the fact he called them inefficient. He said a lot.
Okay.
Now we know that when INEC postponed the election, the first thing the president said was that he was so disappointed. And now a lot of people have said, isn't INEC supposed to be partly his responsibility? He appointed the chairman and all that. Now he's saying that they are inefficient and the APC is trying to pass the buck. Doesn't it say that the whole system is actually inefficient in itself? Because if you call INEC inefficient, you can't say that the president or the government is doing well in itself. So is it the same thing? Is it the system replicating itself? Or is it possible that we extricate INEC as a unit and say INEC is inefficient and the government is proper?
No, it's not possible. If the president refers to INEC as an incompetent agency, it's an indictment on the president. You know why? The INEC chairman was employed by the president. So it simply means before you employ Professor Mamu Yakubu, you should have done your background research of the man. You should have done what people call your homework. So if INEC is faulty today, the fault is from the executive. And see, let me tell you, see, people are looking at this postponement. Left to me, the postponement of this election started as far back as the year 2017. You know why? It took a lot of time for the government to agree on the medium-term expenditure framework for the national budget. Now, INEC sent its budget in January of 2018 to the president to enable them to prepare ahead. The president did not send the budget to the National Assembly until July, when they were on their annual vacation. And that was the time the APC chairman was speaking about that no, Saraki must open the Senate. What are they doing? They must open the Senate. There are important things to do. Let me tell you this. Just give me some time. The annual vacation of the annual vacation of the National Assembly always comes up in July. So why will the president keep this budget from January to July before sending it? Now, it simply means some of the contractual obligations of INEC will not be achieved. INEC is not a magician. And let me tell you this, due to the inadequacy of equipment and the low level development we have in Nigeria, we can't even print our ballot papers. Ballot papers are imported, card readers imported, ballot boxes imported.
So, despite the delay in the release of funds, the National Assembly still approved the 189 billion naira and the monies were released.
They did.
So if you are pending, they say any situation, so far as you want to make the best of a situation, you must be ready. So even if there were delays, some school of thought will say that once the money is released, you kick running immediately.
It does not work like that.
So despite the excuse that the delay was there, they should have been able to cover up a whole lot more once the monies were released.
You know what?
And if they are not able to do so, they are supposed to come clean and say, we have been able to achieve X, Y, Z. This is the reason we have not been able to achieve the rest. But given the excuse that bad weather led to the poor distribution of materials, is that acceptable?
Let me continue from where I stopped. You don't approve contracts in advance. Now, if you have a budget,
if the National Assembly didn't approve it, that could have been irrelevant.
No, it doesn't work like that. It does. At least some of us too. We give out contract on little basis to people. About to produce handkerchief. They will tell you that this handkerchief 100 pieces. It will take 1 week. Some of these things takes time. Now, let me tell you. Let me refresh your memory about this. About a whole container of card readers was set on fire. You are aware of this? About 2 days out, they announced that they've replaced these card readers. It simply means there are a lot of sabotage and there are a lot of inadequacies that confronted INEC that were beyond the power of INEC. I can tell you this. I told somebody today, the reason given by President Mahmoud Yakubu is 1 out of 10 reasons why they postponed the election. There are some reasons that they cannot even say tell to the public. But I can tell you for a fact, just like as I said, the president cannot claim that he was not aware of the postponement. It's not possible. You cannot postpone that election without giving him a phone call. Not even speaking with his chief of staff. You must speak with him one-on-one. So the fact that the budget was approved,
but for a second, don't you think INEC, as the adjective describes it, is supposed to be independent? Yes, the president appointed the INEC chairman, but at the level of internal workings, the president has no dealing to say things should go XYZ manner. So that is why all of the activities are supposed to work as their internal workings, get things right, and if need be, then it would have to reach the ears of the president.
The independence in INEC is abstract, it's not concrete. I will tell you why. If INEC is independent, why must their budgets move through the president?
But
why can't they send the budget to National Assembly?
Tosin, are you in essence saying that INEC lied, or rather that the president lied when...
I am for INEC in this situation.
You're
INEC
for
has conducted a lot of elections and we've seen what they've done. In fact, in Osun State...
And are you impressed with how INEC has delivered on elections so far in Nigeria?
I am impressed. The last time I came on this show, I mentioned that my challenge with this election is not with INEC but with security agencies. We saw what they did in Osun State, where 9 polling units were militarized. In fact, people had to show handband or handkerchief to vote for a respective political parties. On that same day, INEC had to post a tweet on Twitter that they got notification that some people were obstructing their staff from carrying out their legal responsibilities. We keep talking about INEC. INEC is a body, they are not magicians.
Okay,
but
now
the government must give INEC the necessary support that they needed to do what? To deliver.
Sam, let's talk about this issue, because a lot of people believe, like Tosin does, that the fact that the INEC budget was delayed before it was passed, we know all that happened between the executive and the legislature last year, and all of that, the time lag in passing that budget was something that we did not want, we did not see. Do you think that it affected INEC in any way? Because now the president is saying they are inefficient, but then the budget was passed. And some would say in good time, or don't you think?
You know, the beauty of a story is to learn the story behind the story. There is no way Professor Mahmoud Yakubu will tell Nigerians that 3 or 2:45 a.m. was the appropriate or the time at which it was pushed to the wall to cancel that election. Professor Mahmoud Yakubu knows from his heart of hearts that in this entire political labaloo, or this shenanigan and this paparazzi going on, he is going to be the fall guy. Because if he wanted to tell the world that he was not adequately prepared for this election, he would have shifted it a week or 2 weeks before. Just the way it was done in 2015. You could have shifted and we would have understood.
But he was optimistic. He believed till the end, don't you think as well?
Nigeria is the largest black nation on earth. We are close to 200 million people, 36 states and the FCT. It's a large mass. I've been to other countries in this continent, and Nigeria is a massive country. I've been around. And also the excuse that they gave, like he said, the one of weather, come on now. Even NIMET, Nigeria Meteorological Council, said no, weather was on point. You cannot tell us that.
Let's bring it back to,
apparently there are many reasons that
what the president said,
that made them to cancel this election.
And then do you think that the president saying that INEC is inefficient, the fact that, was it that he did not know that that was going to happen, and now he kept harping on the fact that INEC failed? Don't you think that it is also an indictment on him as well?
100%. The Nigerian president is one of the most powerful presidents in the world. And that is why a lot of people are dying to get to the center, because so much power, so much responsibility rests on him. For him to make that statement, it's clear. I am inefficient. I am not capable to deliver an election to Nigerian people. He has simply just used a subordinate or a proxy to deliver a judgment on himself. Because if INEC does not do what it should do last Saturday, and even this coming Saturday, then he has failed as a person.
Now moving the conversation forward now, the president also, the APC concluded that they were going to, before INEC decided to lift the ban, they said, well, they were going to go on with campaigns as well. How do you think that also rubs up on following INEC rules and regulations, the Electoral Act and other regulations that are supposed to guide how political parties work. Because if the APC during their caucus meeting said, well, we are going to flout this order, even before INEC had said, let's lift the ban, what does that mean?
APC is simply doing what you call omonile, so to speak. And that simply means that, yes, this is our land. We can do the way we like. But going by the Constitution, the Constitution says, and INEC Act says that
Electoral
24
Act,
hours.
actually,
24
the
hours.
Electoral Act.
Do you understand? So since that goalpost has been shifted from Saturday to the next Saturday, automatically you are open to campaign. We don't need INEC to tell
was
us
clear saying
and
that
give us
there was no further campaigns, and it is INEC that still remains electoral umpire and should also define how things work, don't you think?
But then INEC can be sued, because if you are flouting a laid down act, you can't just say because
Then
of
follow
the
due
empire,
procedure, do the legal means. Don't go first and say, well, we are just going to continue campaigning. Instead, seek redress in the court of law.
It's just like, for what you just said now, then that means we should also hold the president responsible for making such a statement
Exactly.
about snatching ballot box at the expense of one's life. You know,
Exactly.
if one must look at everything that's been done by these parties, then in fact it will be a lawless situation.
The rule
Because
of law takes precedence.
I
That's
agree.
my own
Rule
point.
of law.
Now, quickly,
Rule of law.
Tosin, we also saw that 2 governors currently engaged in a running battle with the APC national leadership were conspicuously absent. I'm talking about Ibikule Amosu as well
Imo
as
State.
Rochas Okorocha of
Okorocha,
Imo
yes.
State. What do you think this also means as well?
The genesis of that was lack of party discipline. Okay, because in the normal system, the party is supreme. So irrespective of your candidates or who you want to push forward for a position, you must make sure that candidate follows the process. And we started from getting the form, contesting the primary, and winning the primary. So if you as a governor, you cannot mobilize enough delegates to make sure that your preferred candidate wins the election, the moment the election is over, you are entitled to support the winner, not support who you want. So what is happening in Ogun State now and Imo State is just a promotion of party indiscipline. And the party too, they've made them so confident of that indiscipline because they failed to discipline them. In a normal situation, the governor of Ogun State and Imo State should have been expelled. Not even suspended, expelled from APC by now. But I think the party accommodated them all because they wanted votes for President Buhari from their states. I know the president could say is openly vote for your candidate of choice. It should not be like that. You have to vote for the candidate of the party, not vote for your conscience. It's not like conscience there. If you're a member of APC, your conscience is APC. If you're a member of PDP, your conscience is PDP. The moment is like as if telling people members that you should vote for your conscience. That means you are mobilizing against yourself. So what presidents have said in Ogun and Imo by telling people to vote according to their conscience he is indirectly demarketing himself. And we'll see by the time the election result is out, we can now sit down again and analyze the effect of that statement on the
Sam,
election.
how do you think this would also work on the popularity of the APC in Ogun and Imo State?
I do think that the personal egos of these 2 governors have definitely become bigger than the party. And they are big babies that they are trying to spoil and pamper. Because on a normal day, in a normal situation, the chairman of the party, whatever he pronounces, should be obeyed by all and sundry. So for somebody who is supposedly a loyalist to the president, because we all know how close Ibikule Amosu is, Senator, the governor of Ogun State, to the president. He built a massive estate in Ogun State with a big bold insignia, President Muhammadu Buhari Estate. And we know how close Rochas Okorocha is to the president. So apparently, these 2 persons are trying to perpetuate themselves after power. And what is leadership? Leadership is being able to replicate yourself even after you have left that position. But they have failed because if not, they should comfortably have groomed a successor such that the person will be accepted by all and sundry. But when there is a division within your own party, and then there are uprisings, and they know that if I do not do something drastic, I will be at the receiving end. They decided to upset the apple's cart. So apparently what's happening here is simply failure of leadership on the part of those 2 governors. And then Adams Oshiomhole had to stand his ground as a man. As in be a man, like guys, you cannot do this. So I do think ultimately those two states might be a collateral damage for the APC.
Okay.
But let's see what happens.
Now, talking about what is going on in Ogun State, let us not forget that that was the same state where the APC leadership was pelted with stones. We know that during the APC presidential rally, the people from the crowd that were termed political hoodlums and thugs pelted the chairman of the APC, Adams Oshomole, with stones. And then there was a report that one stone almost hit the president, and then a security guy was the fall guy there. So isn't that possibly what's going on and why he wasn't at the meeting, don't we think? Because looking at it critically, there was a report I also saw where the Ogun State governor was accused of sponsoring the thugs in question, and then he was agitated. Could it be that the House is not united anymore, Tosin? Isn't that a possibility?
It's obvious. The governor of Ogun State, as that today, is supporting Akinlade of APM to be the next governor of that state. He's not hiding it. In fact, he's making it so... he's making it look so desperate because of his recent pronouncements. The governor had to accuse the APC of planning to rig election in Ogun State. Yes, he uttered that statement.
But during the rally, he was begging the crowd that our father is around. Yes, and all of that.
Everything was stage managed.
But it looked real,
Everything was stage managed. I will tell you why it was stage managed. The governor, with his influence, can tell APMs or others not to attend that rally. They actually came. People came to that rally carrying APM logo with President Buhari beside Akinlade.
On APM.
On APM platform.
That's a coalition.
No, it's not a coalition.
No, of course, if you see that,
it's not a coalition. It's a pure anti-party activity.
Yeah.
Because Dakwa Abiodun was to be the one on that poster.
Correct.
And the logo should be APC. Even if you are in support, see, a lot of parties adopt candidates. CUPP adopted Atiku. Different parties SDP adopted President Buhari, but you don't see SDP members at APC rally.
Correct.
No, the fact that we adopt a candidate means we will just mobilize for him to win his presidency. That's why in some cases, that's why in 2015 in some states, APC won presidency. During governorship, they lost, and that was on those states. APC won Ondo for governorship. The following Saturday, when we had the state assembly election, PDP cleared every seat. So that's how you adopt candidates. What happened in Ogun State was not a question, it was a stage managed. It was stage managed to disgrace the president and disgrace the party leadership. You could see the moment the president raised up the hand of President Abiodun, there was crisis.
Okay, now, gentlemen, we are supposed to round up conversations in about a minute. Intelligence available, that according to the PDP, they said intelligence available to them showed that the presidency directed the leadership of INEC to immediately reshuffle the resident electoral commissioners in order to deploy compromised officials to manipulate the electoral process. You also heard that from the PDP stance immediately after the APC Caucus meeting as a reaction. What do you also make of this blame game beyond sentiment?
We cannot remove sentiments from this election because sentiments and anti-sentiments and counter-sentiments and accusations will keep flying around until election day and even afterwards. I do think that reshuffling is important. And definitely, PDP has the right to cry foul. I just do think that in the midst of all of this, things should be done properly, should be done openly, and Nigerians should not be kept in the dark. Don't let us know those people until, don't reveal them until election day. Publish their names, publish where they are being posted to, and let people know in real time. Because when there is scarcity of information, you give room for speculation.
Absolutely.
I think shoveling is unnecessary. Now, I'm against shoveling these IRECs. You know why? When you bring a new rec into a new state now, you still need to fight to get the confidence of the political parties. People see, the success of this election depends on the political parties, and the major parties especially. The moment INEC does not get their trust, there is a problem. Now, there was a protest in Akwa Ibom against the rec by some APC youths. INEC chairman responded to that press today. According to the statement released by the INEC chairman, the chairman said he has spoken with the rec, and the rec told him that he's fine and they are doing well and they've prepared for the election. So if you reshuffle somebody now, less than few days to election,
3 days
you bring
to
in a
go.
new one, how do you want to get the confidence of the political players?
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you so much for your thoughts. Well, it's been so good listening to your insights on this. We've been with Sam Adeleke and Tosin Adeshino. They are both public affairs analysts. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. Well, next we'll be talking about ballot box snatching in Nigeria, against what we already discussed about the president's comment. And of course, we'll be right back in just a moment. This is still Nigeria Decides.